Hey guys, in the previous video I overviewed 4 different environments that we have in Revit, and in this video I'm going to walk you through of how to begin working in conceptual master environment, how to make some different forms and how to work with them. So in this environment we actually play with some different forms, we make those forms and we work with them until we achieve the final form of the building. And then we can actually load it into the project environment and we can add walls, windows, doors in that environment. But in this we are only dealing with the forms. The objects like levels and preference planes actually appear in 3D in this environment. Now one of the things we're gonna figure out is this plane in my view is showing a bit sort of blue. It's got that blue gradient over it, and that's because if you see it right here, it's actually showing me the work plane. If I just click on it, it will turn this off. This plane is still the default plane where I can actually make all those shapes and forms, but it's just not telling me that it is this plane selected. So to do that I can just turn it on and off, or if I want to work on some other plane I can just go to select and actually select the different plane. Now whatever I make, I can make it on this plane that is showing me. But for right now I will work on this plane. I just click on it and it is a plane selected. Since I'm gonna be working on 3D forms in this environment, still we got no options of making 3D forms in here. That's all because to make a form 3D you're gonna be having to start with making some different shapes. First you gotta make the shape and then you're gonna go through some possibilities of making 3Ds out of those shapes. So if I just go to a rectangle from right up here, make a rectangle like just like that and press escape, click on this rectangle, this chain of lines that actually form this rectangle, and click on create form right from here. It's gonna create this cuboid out of it because it is the only possibility of what you can do, what form you can actually make from that rectangle. But if I go to make a circle, let's say, and create a circle right here, press escape, click on this circle again and hit click form, it's gonna show me a couple of possibilities of forms that I can actually create from that circle shape that I just created. That these are the obvious options, or rather the alternative forms that I can make out of that shape. So if I just click on this sphere, it's gonna create a sphere out of that circle. I could have also hit that cylindrical shape if I wanted. And again you can actually create these forms at any sort of a work plane as you want. So if I just click on this plane, so now this plane is set as default, so I'm gonna hit to the circle, create a circle right here. Now this circle is actually created on that plane I selected. Hit escape, click on this again and click on create form. This time I'm gonna go with the cylindrical form. So this is how you can actually create different forms at different work planes. And to actually orbit around these forms, you're gonna keep holding up the shift button from the keyboard and scroll from the mouse. You can always make some different planes in the view. We'll get to that later, but what I'm gonna show you is how to make planes out of this reference line. So if I just click on this and this plane is actually selected as default right now, I'm gonna make a line right up here. I think this is good. So if I just zoom it a bit, so what do you see right here? It shows you different planes. I'm gonna scroll a bit so you can actually see that better. So this line actually has these different planes. So having selected this line, you can actually see, if you just click on the show work plane, that this plane on the line is selected. So every shape that I make is gonna be created on this plane of this reference line. And since I told you this has 4 planes, how to change them, we can just click on set Now if we just hit the tab key, you can now see I can actually change this plane, and there's a plane here and here. So if I just want to work on the another plane, if I just hit the tab key and click to set that plane as a working plane. Now if I just create a shape, it's gonna be created right on that plane. So if I'm about to make a form out of it, I can just click on it and hit on create form. What another thing you can do with this reference line is that now this form is actually on the plane that is part of this reference line. If I just click on this, and here I can actually drag this point, this end point of this reference line. If I just drag this form goes along with it. I can just rotate this wherever I want. So one of those things you're gonna notice when I drag my mouse to the face of any one of those forms like this, it's gonna show me that loop of edges around here. If I just zoom it a bit, you can also show this individually like this, or you can just hit the tab key to actually select the whole form. If I hit the tab key again, it's gonna select this only one sort of the edge. Hit the tab key again, it's gonna select this face again. So this is how you can actually make some different selections. If I go to the corner, it's gonna select this point. Now coming back to the face, if I just hit the tab key to select this face, it's gonna show me these controlling handles. So what I can do with it is I can drag this face to any one of these axes it shows. There are three main axes, so I can just drag this face from this axis or maybe this one. So what it's gonna do is gonna change the position of this face, but the proportions are gonna remain the same. Now if you see, the proportions of adjacent planes are changing with these movements that I do. In the mid of these controlling handles, you have more sort of three other controlling handles. From this we can actually drag this plane to the intermediate axis of these two axes, this blue and red axis, if I say. So you can actually drag this to this intermediate axis. Now showing you how you can actually extrude or rather create form out of these different shapes. But what if I try to make form out of only a line? So if I just create a rectangle right up here and sort of select this only line that I have here and click on create form, what it's gonna do is gonna make this plane out of this line. Now another thing that you notice here in this view is I have these forms that are actually not the forms that I created, but it's actually a component, and here this arch is also a component. Now you can actually go to create and click on component. Here you can actually load all those components that you have, the families, into this. I have two of them right here, the arch and the torus. I'll just click on arch, and here what you see is I have the option to place this on face. What it does is if I click on it, I can actually place this on any of those faces that are of the forms that I already have in the view, just like this. Or if I want to place this on a work plane, I have to click on this option, place on work plane. So by this I can actually place my object into the working plane that I have. It's like this. Now when you're done making them masks, you can actually load it into the project. What you have to do first is go to new, create a new project. Let's just say with the architecture template and press OK. Now if I just go back to the conceptual mask and click on load into project, it's gonna load all these masks into that project. Since we are trying to import that conceptual mass into the project environment. So Revit is showing us this bar, and it's saying that it has actually enabled the show mass mode, so we can actually see that mass into this environment. So we don't need to do anything, just hit close. I'm just gonna click close here, and I can place this wherever I want in this working plane. So here I have it. If I just go to 3D, I'm gonna see all this 3D conceptual mass in this project environment. Now in the future videos we're gonna cover how we can actually add some different elements to it, like walls, windows, and every other element that a building has, and actually design a building out of this mass. So watching this video, if you have any questions, you can actually put them into the comment section below.